Greetings from Strasbourg. Back to business as usual. After a disappointing election result for us, and the topic on everybody's lips is our referendum on the EU. On a brighter note, I was delighted to welcome law and politics students from University of Coventry to the Parliament. They had questions on the referendum and on Labour generally, and were keen to understand how the Parliament works. Whilst only about 5 out of the 20 or so of the students were from the Midlands, the message they conveyed to me was what an interconnected world we live in and how the decisions we make here or in the UK impact across oceans. Financing of development aid was once again on the agenda, and speaking in the plenary, I called for countries to step up their game to fight poverty, which would mean 17,000 fewer children dying each day. Development assistance is crucial to our national security. By helping other countries grow and making them safer, we can combat terrorism. You won't be surprised to learn that UKIP MEPs disagree with this and would rather abolish the budget and voted against measures by EU nations for supporting the world's poorest. I know many people are concerned seeing the images of refugees who are risking their lives and those of their children in search of a future. Therefore, I was really heartened to receive letters from constituents who said the debate around migration is simply unacceptable. One constituent wrote, "I would like you to imagine what it's like to live in a country where your family has been murdered. You might be forced into service and you're living in fear of persecution." Another wrote and asked me to do whatever I can to prevent further tragedies in the Mediterranean. Worryingly, similar situations are on the increase in Asia too. That's why I welcome that the Parliament will be discussing the plight of the Rohingya people who have suffered inhuman conditions in search for a better life, and we will be urging the neighbourhood countries to do more for them in Asia. Because it's not just about assisting people once they've made the journey. It's important we strive for a world where people aren't forced onto the rickety boats. Therefore, we voted to cut off the oxygen to all factors that contribute, including money laundering, which means more money leaves the developing world than enters it. And of course, the opaque networks also mean that tax income is lost across Europe. It isn't fair that individuals and small businesses suffer, whilst those who break and bend the rules get richer. On small businesses, I took up the case with Commissioner Ansip in the Chamber on changes to the VAT that took place earlier this year, known as VATMOS. Many new startups and scale-ups contacted me because they are concerned about the rule change, which means they have to register at the cost of €5,000 for every single member state. These are micro businesses selling sewing patterns or vintage computer or small tech startups. That's a lot of money for them to fork out. These changes were designed to hit the large corporations who do avoid taxes and VAT in the EU. That's why I'm asking for a threshold to be introduced ASAP to exempt the smaller businesses. Continuing on the SMEs, we debated about helping them achieve green growth. This type of growth has been hugely instrumental in the West Midlands in driving forward development of our region into one of the largest low carbon and environmental goods and services sector in the UK. Now, a quick summary of other key issues. Tory MEPs voted against mandatory scheme to trace whether certain minerals are sourced from conflict zones, siding with vested interests. Luckily, we managed to get it passed, and we can now take steps to make sure that when we buy a smartphone or a tablet in the EU, we're not financing slavery or fueling war in the third world. Unsurprisingly, the Tories also voted against a series of calls for improving maternity leave rights and against calls to adopt a common position to tackle disability discrimination. So nothing's changed, it's same old Tories. That's everything. Thanks for listening, and until next time, goodbye.